This would be why feminism is bullshit, which means feminism has that in common with both Christianity and Islam. Those religions, however, are just beyond lunacy. The woman's primary value would be the fact that females give birth, but women are also living beings. Regardless, how is God any better than this feminist ideal, as God wants the woman to be in submission to their husband and him? And obviously, why do you agree with that? How is obedience anything to live by, or anything valid or valuable to base life on? How are Christ's commands good, and why do you agree with those commands? As I've said multiple times before, Jesus did everything for God, not us. He sacrificed himself to fulfill God's plan by making his creation believe they're inherently guilty, and to provide us the way to get his forgiveness, which the Bible indoctrinates you to believe you need. I'm going to assume that you intended to type planet. If so, you're saying God wanted to put us in various forms of danger? Dominion over the planet? No, I think the planet has dominion over us. We have to dress according to the weather. We have to learn about the planet, how to survive, and avoid the planet's natural harms. The planet provides us the resources, which also makes us dependent on it. Regardless, why do you side with this God who will someday destroy this planet, which also means destroy this world? Why does God need godly offspring, and why do you want them to be? What do you mean, New Earth? You are against women working and having a career, and want women to be a submissive wife and mother who stays with the kids as much as possible, because you believe that's what God wants. So, how is Christianity the right way? Because it's the truth? Suppose it is. How does Christianity being the truth make it right and acceptable? If Christianity is the right way, nobody would have a problem with it, and feminism wouldn't exist. If it's because God will punish otherwise, that doesn't make it right or good. That's only force. God wouldn't need to punish anybody. People would encounter too many problems with feminism, or experience big problems, and the consequences would naturally occur as a result, causing people to stop. I mean, you wouldn't have to strawman feminism as propaganda under the context of Christianity if feminism was actually illogical and Christianity was verified and legitimate. After all, does feminism involve a consequence for not obeying it? It's called economics, Lori. Would anybody need to work for a living if God made us not needing to survive? Yes, some women would prefer to be a homemaker, but you're an advocate for a sexist tyrant who only wants this for his own benefit, not for our benefit. And you want it for this God because you're a miserable woman who probably doesn't really want to be in your position. You certainly spend a lot of time on the internet spreading your bullshit for a submitted wife and mother of however many. As for these women not being offended, even by the Christian element of your message, that doesn't mean you're right. It only means those women are as sick as you. Well, you have a serious problem then, because there are many denominations of this religion. Anytime you guys judge or criticize each other, you're committing the no true Scotsman fallacy. That means you're also in that bind. So there really is no way out of that. None of you can agree with each other, but you are a hypocrite to argue with each other. If God doesn't like capitalism, he should have thought things through. If that's not what you're talking about, colleges and universities have nothing, or shouldn't have anything, to do with religion. If God has a problem, let him fucking deal with it, Lori. It's not your problem either. To assert God is to defeat the purpose of saying anything, because there's no point if God's authority can't be defied or escaped. Saying anything would also be blasphemy because you're both speaking for God and assuming his authority. I'm aware that saying that makes me sound like I believe God exists, but I'm only saying so because God isn't here, even if he does exist. Only you Christians are and are the ones causing the problems on this planet that we somehow have dominion over, according to you. What harm has been caused by women getting a continued education? Again, maybe if God was a better creator, nobody would need anything or to do anything. You believe God is the creator, but you just can't see that makes God the root of it all. Debt is a common thing in capitalism, while sin is what God caused by creating Adam and Eve, because God wants to be obeyed. The difference between God and capitalism being that God is an all-powerful being, whom you Christians believe and argue to be perfect, while capitalism is an economic system made by man, who is imperfect. The similarity being that both God and man are psychotic, God wanting obedience, and set Adam and Eve up to cause original sin, while man is greedy and designed capitalism to cause debt, to cancel the poor out, and enable the wealthy. With that pointed out, no, women going to college and university is not the problem and causes no harm. Well, if their work interferes with being a mother, sure. However, you're all about all women having children for God. Even if God does exist and Christianity is the truth, God is still the bad guy, and you Christians are all his accomplices. That offends you? Well, you keep spreading propaganda, so that's your fucking problem. You look at the big picture, Lori. What does it mean then? You post this tweet, which suggests guilt, after you post so much arrogant and pompous Christian propaganda. You say you don't hate, and that you teach, but Christianity isn't about you. Get over yourself and God. If you feel that you need to make this statement to clarify your position, maybe you need to rethink your position, because as I pointed out earlier, maybe this way is shitty if God punishes for non-compliance, instead of the results of everything not of God's, quote, perfect ways results in problems, while God's way proves itself to be the best, which would mean no preaching or teaching is ever necessary, and nobody would ever have to self-apologize or clarify, while women getting an education to work and have a career would result in problems that they personally experience, instead of people like you feeling you have to invoke God. How are God's ways perfect? Why not explain that instead of going on about this pointless and irrelevant clarification that you're not about hate? Would God need hell and for his creation to obey him if his ways are perfect? How is a consequence instead of problem solving perfection? Isn't free will one of God's ways? Nobody in their right mind gives a damn what you say or feel. Wow, this one's crazy. So how is enabling such men a good command, and how is God loving, caring, and grateful? The fact that this is a command is a red flag. How is obedience to the Lord a reason to truly love the husband? How is obedience to God's authority a genuine form of nurtured love?